hope that you enjoy what we're going to do this afternoon. Firstly, let me just repeat what Jim has said. The notes are already on the website. If you go to avpals.com and you either search for this seminar, or you just, from the very front page, you'll see a clickable link which will take you to the notes for today, and also on Friday a copy of the video. And I'm hoping this will last 20 minutes, and there'll be plenty of time at the end for questions, which I think is a fairly significant part of it. So let's get going. We're going to have a look at a right, well, there we are, folks. This is an attempt by me to show you how to scan that box of photos that you have, or the album that you have, and eventually end up with having these photographs in good quality and put into a cloud storage solution that you'll be able to share with friends and family. It's a very useful thing to do. Just a bit of background, I did in the month of March, I did 1,800 photos myself of mine and my wife's, and we've scanned, they're all carefully scanned. I've enhanced them, I've taken the scratches out, and I've put them on the cloud, and so I've now sent all my family a link to that, and they're able to look at these photos, and it all works very nicely, and the photos have now gone back to where they came from. So here's what you're going to need to do this whole operation. And remember, the notes explain very carefully to you how you do it. You're going to need a multifunction printer or scanner. They're called MFPs, if you like, lovely using acronyms like I do. They're typically the sort of thing which you would have got at home, I'm sure. You can buy them from Officeworks for about $40. It's not a case of the more you spend, the better they are. It is true that if you want to really get into the scanning of photos in a big way, you might want to buy a standalone scanner. But frankly, mine are perfectly good. You'll need a computer. It can be either a PC based on Windows 10, or it could be a Mac. In the course immediately following this one, I'm doing the same presentation, but for people who have the Apple operating system, because the way they do it is slightly different. I won't say one's inferior to the other, because they've both got their pluses and their minuses. You're going to need a selection of photos from an album or a box of photos. I'd suggest you start off in a small way, have a little practice first, try a few, get maybe a dozen photos, get it all done, and then if you're happy with it, delete it and start again, because it does take a bit of time. You need an image manipulation program. Now, Windows 10 comes with quite a good image manipulation program. It's called Photos, strangely enough. And if you look on your Windows 10 computer, you'll find it quite easily. And it does do much of the things that I'm going to recommend you do with another piece of software, another app called IRFANVIEW. And the reason I like IRFANVIEW is that, firstly, it's totally free. There's no spam, there's no viruses, you don't need to register, you don't need to do anything. And it's tiny. You download it in under 10 seconds. And it is the best image manipulation program I have ever met. It has not been developed for the last 5 years. The person who wrote it originally, whose first name was Irfan, has gone on to bigger things. But it is still considered the best of the image manipulation programs for people at our level. And I should tell you, it is the most popular freeware program ever developed for the Windows 10. So that's IRFANVIEW. I will suggest to you later on how you might get a copy of that. And I use PowerPoint, made by Microsoft, part of the Office suite, to present the photos. Now, you don't need to do this, but the advantage of using PowerPoint is you can put the photos in the order in which you want them to be, which is not so easy when you don't use PowerPoint. And best of all, you can annotate the slides so you can make copious notes on each slide which your family or friends can look at. Oh, and you certainly need plenty of spare time and patience. Great for these wet days coming up in the next few days. I understand Thursday we're going to get 25 mils of rain here in Sydney, and that will be a great opportunity for you to get going. You've virtually got all that you need at home now, except for downloading that bit of software called IRFANVIEW, which, by the way, you can get from IRFANVIEW.com. There's a picture of a typical MFP, multi-function printer. It is basically a printer, but it also has the option of being able to scan photos as well. And some of them can also fax, but that's not necessary. On the top of that printer, you can see that it's possible to lift up the top of the printer, the cover, and inside there is a glass plate. I'm sure you've all got the same sort of thing at home. That glass plate is correctly called a platen, P-L-A-T-E-N, and the golden rule is keep it clean, because any little smudge or mark on that will get handed on to all your photos, and after you've done 1800 and you spot a fly on each one of them, you'll know why. You don't need a computer. Well, it can be anything you like. I don't mind how old it is. The particular one you're looking at there is my old Asus laptop. It's about 8 years old. I converted it from Windows 7 up to Windows 10. It works perfectly well for this job. You don't need anything more. And of course, you need a photo album. I'm sure you've all got some of those, and you will also might be a box full of old photos. It doesn't matter what order they're in. I've done all my photos in and saved them in decades. So I've got photos from the 20s to the 30s. Well, not that old, folks. These are my grandparents. And 30s to the 40s and 40s to the 50s and so on. And of course, many of the early ones are in black and white. And there's a wonderful option in this program called IRFANVIEW that changes black and white photos into grayscale photos, which really enhances them and makes them look terrific. All right, so here we go. We're going to step through what you do. The first thing is I suggest you download this program called IRFANVIEW. There it is. That's the web page you're looking at there. And the one you want is this one. I'm just circling my mouse around it now. It says download the current version 4.54. Actually, you'll want the one on the right, the 64-bit version, unless your laptop is more than 12 years old. You'll want the one I'm now circling. Download current version 4.54. Hasn't changed in 5 years, but I don't know what else you could do because it's just absolutely excellent. So here I am, opening up an old box, and in there's a photo album. And I just get the photo album out and I put it down somewhere steadily. And I think to myself, well, here I go. I'm starting from scratch. Oops, daisy, we just don't need to do that. And of course, you're going to want to select some photos. So what I'm doing is opening up the album. And for the demonstration here, I've chosen 2 photos. And I'd suggest you do the same. Start off with 2, start off in an easy way. You can take as many as you like at once that will fit on the glass platen of your multifunction printer. 2 is obviously not enough, but it's a great place to start. In many cases, I was able to fit 6 on, and the more you fit on, the quicker this whole process will be, because what I found was easiest was to go right through the album, scan them all first, and then later on adjust them, rather than trying to do one by one. Okay, so you place the photos on the clean glass platen of the scanner, face down, folks. That's the way it works on the scanner. And here we go, doing it right now. So I've got the 2 photos. I've moved to my multifunction printer. I've lifted up the lid and I'm putting the 2 photos on and, of course, closing the lid. And that's all there is to it. That's ready to go. Now, in some cases, but very rarely, you can scan these photos from the printer itself. But I'm suggesting to you that's an unlikely situation. You're much more likely to want to go back to your computer and scan the photos from there. You might have most likely to have a wireless multifunction printer, but you might not. You might have one connected by USB. Whatever it is, they both work perfectly well. Here we go, we're now sitting comfortably in front of our computer, and we're going to firstly scan these photos using the inbuilt software that comes with Windows 10. It is called Fax and Scan. It's a very simplistic bit of software, but it works perfectly well. Or you may want to scan the photos using the software that came with your printer. In my case, I've got an Epson printer. I've also got a Canon printer, and they both come with great software for scanning photos. The net result, however, is virtually the same. So we're going to start off by looking at how you would do it with Windows, fax and scan. This little video I've got shoots by pretty quickly, and you might like to, after on Friday, have another look at this, but it's you'll see pretty much. There's a desktop of Windows, and I've called that up and I've found Windows fax and scan, and I've opened it up and there it is, and I'm clicking on the button that says new scan. Now it's sitting there waiting for me now, waiting for the machine to warm up. It takes up to a minute for it to get hot enough to be able to do good scans. So don't be surprised if it takes a little while, particularly for the first photo. Remember, we've already put the photos on the glass plate, so we're now waiting for the scanner to start, and it should start any second. He said, hopefully. There we go, the little green line is coming across, meaning the scanner is now scanning those photos. In some scanning software, you can see it scanning. In this version of the Windows 10 one, you can't. You have to wait till it finishes, and then you get a preview, and you're going to see that in just a second or two. So scan the first page. It really means scans the first lot of photos, and there you see the photo. Now, what we're going to do now is, that's what you will see when you finish the first lot of scanning using the inbuilt Windows fax and scan. So when this is over, before you get up and go off and have a cup of tea, just touch the Windows key on your keyboard of your laptop, not now please, and up will come a whole list of programs, and you're just going to simply type the word scan, and you will find this program called Windows Fax and Scan. It's quite adequate. Now we're going to look at the same thing again. This time we're going to use the Epson scanner, which is a scan software, which comes with the Epson printer when you buy it, or any of the other brands. They've all got a scanning software when you buy your printer. So this is the Epson scan one. You see I've just clicked on the scan button at the lower part of the screen, and it's doing very much the same options as you saw with the Windows fax and scan. In fact, it is in fact using the same bit of software. And here it is running across. The Epson scan software has many options. You can increase the quality, you can do all sorts of clever things with it, but I would recommend when you first start, you fiddle with nothing. Just give it a go as it will be just fine. So it's nearly finished the scan, and will of course produce exactly the same result. There'll be no difference at all. We're ready now to, it's done it, and there's nothing more to do, but we want to check that the scan has worked properly. It's all very well seeing it happen, but have those photos been saved onto your hard disk of your laptop or computer? This is how you do it. If you're not familiar with how Windows Explorer works, it's not the moment for me to tell you. You will like to do perhaps a basic course with Avpals. It shows you all this stuff. But Windows Explorer is at the heart of Windows. It's the operation that lets you find files on your computer. So we need to go open Windows Explorer. We need to navigate to the scan folder. It's usually stored under Documents and then a subfolder called Scan Documents. You're going to right-click on the new scan, that is the right-hand mouse button, and you're going to select the option that says Open With. When you've done that, there'll be a list, and you're going to choose IRFANVIEW because you've already downloaded it, and it will then open IRFANVIEW and show you the photo that you have now scanned. This part of the course depends on you knowing a little bit about navigating your way around your computer. But if you're in any questions, any further questions you want to ask me about that at the end, I'm glad to answer them. So this example is from my computer. You see at the bottom there are two folders, one that says Scanned Documents, another one that says Sound Recordings, and the scanned photos will be in that folder called Scanned Documents. So here we are now looking in IRFANVIEW. You've right-clicked on that photo, it's opened it up, and that's what it looks like. It all looks a bit complicated. And of course, the photos are sideways. And of course, it's two together. That's the last thing we want. We don't want them up facing in a vertical way. We want to turn them horizontally, and we want to separate those two photos. And that's where this bit of software called IRFANVIEW really shines. Here's how we're going to do it. Watch this little video clip. There are the photos, and I'm choosing the option that says image rotate. There's a rotate left and a rotate right. There's a lovely shortcut key, which is the L key, which turns it round to the left, and the R key on your keyboard, which turns it to the right. Now we're going to grab hold of one of those pictures by dragging a box around it with the mouse, and we're going to cut it. I just did that by going image cut. Now, having got it, we now want to save that as a photo by itself. So we chose save as, we've typed in some useful name, and we've saved it. Now we're going to undo what we just did. So we're now back to where we were, but you've saved one of the photos. Now we're going to do the other one. And so on through the 4 or 6 you might have on the original scan. There you are. I've grabbed hold of that, and then I'm going to save that, not save, but save as, so that you've got another separate photo. So now we've scanned 2 of them. If there happen to be one in there with the same name, you've got to say replace it. So that, I'll just go through that very quickly again. We looked at the scan. We found the ones you're looking at the moment. We rotated them by using the options on the menu bar, or remembering those wonderful 2 keys, R for right, L for left. We then cut out each photo by highlighting the photo with the mouse, by drawing a box around the mouse while holding down your left-hand mouse button, letting it go, and then using the option to cut, which means it just leaves that one photo there. A nice shortcut key there is Control, holding the Control key down, and Y. I'm very keen on using keyboard shortcuts. The professionals who do this all day, they never use their mouse. They use the keyboard shortcuts. They're very much more efficient. Okay, here's a few more options you could do. You could enhance your photos using IRFANVIEW. There are many things. You can brighten the photos if they're very dull. You can reshape them. You might want to cut out a person in there that's, you know, shot off and not part of the family anymore. And you do that by using IRFANVIEW to cut them out by using your mouse. And you can resize the photos. If they aren't big enough, or if they're too small, you can fiddle around with the size of them. I'm not going to begin to start to tell you how to do all these things, maybe in a future course. You can color correct them. And there is a very good option in IRFANVIEW that will have a guess at what the photo should look like. And it works very well. Having said all this, I want to just point out to you that IRFANVIEW is not the only solution. You can certainly use the photo app that comes in Windows 10, but it's nothing like as efficient or as fast as this bit of software. Other things you can do, you can add borders, you can convert to grayscale, as I mentioned earlier, wonderful for all black and white photos. You can get rid of red eye. And finally, and the most important thing, is this thing, batch processing. Now, batch processing means to do the same routine task time after time after time. So if you've got 50 photos there and you want to, for example, convert them all to grayscale, using the option built into IRFANVIEW, you say, do them all at once, please. And it does them all, one after the other, very, very quickly. So it doesn't change the originals. It keeps a separate lot for you. And that's a fantastic way to do a lot of routine tasks in a hurry. And much more. It's really worth having a look at. All right, let's just recap what we've been talking about. We scanned 2 photos. We chose 2 because it was a good place to start. We returned the photos to the album. Good point. If you've borrowed that album from somebody, put them back where they came from. I think they'd appreciate it. We separated the photos using the software and saved them separately, so that if we had 2 people's pictures on the screen, we were able to cut them and save them as separate files. We may have optionally also enhanced and cropped them. I would recommend you don't start off doing that. You just simply do it in the most simplistic way and work your way up to it. We remember to resave our editing. Now, I'm so mentioning this to you because many people get confused between the words save and save as. Save simply means to save over the top of the one you've already got. But save as gives you a chance to give it a new name. And if you're dividing one scan into 2 photos, you obviously want to choose save as. And we remembered where we saved these images. Yes, they're probably saved in the scanned documents folder, so scanned images folder, but just have a little check to make sure you know where they are. Nothing worse than doing all this work and then not being able to find the photos. Well, next week, we're going to talk about how to enhance the photos. We're going to talk about how to put them into PowerPoint. And folks, for those of you that have got PCs based on Windows 10, I've got to tell you, the options in PowerPoint are fantastically much better than the ones in the Mac, which miss out on one of the most important and useful things. They can do it, but it's much slower. With you, if you've got a copy of PowerPoint, you can produce a slideshow in about 10 seconds of all your photos without you interfering with any sort of settings. So you're going to learn how to create a PowerPoint show instantly. You're going to learn how to write the notes in the PowerPoint show so that the rest of the family can see what you're doing. And you're going to learn how to upload those final results to either one of those 3 cloud sources: Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive. And for those people who've got Macs, of course, we'll be talking about iCloud as well. So you'll be learning how to send a link to these files to friends and family. The usefulness of that is you can optionally let them also edit them, but I wouldn't recommend that. I think you're much better off you taking control, letting them look at the photos, and if they don't like one of them, let them ring you up or maybe come and visit, which would be a nice change. Nobody seems to do that nowadays. Although from Friday, we're going to be able to visit some of your family might be able to visit their elderly parents. That's it, folks. That's Avpals for Seniors Disaster Course. Visit avpals.com for the notes for the session. And as from Friday, a copy of this video.